So today, it's hitch day. This is my 2022 Tesla Model 3. This is the full kit for the Stealth Hitch, both hitch kit and towing capability. So this comes with the wiring harness, comes with the 2-inch ball and everything. We're going to do this full install today from start to finish. Let's tear open a brand new vehicle. Okay, so let's first go open the boxes. Let's see actually what actually came with everything. Alright, so this is obviously the main hitch part. And in here we have keys loaded inside lock block. So this is the lock block, which should have keys in it, and the bolts, obviously, to attach it. Okay, so inside the lock block itself is where the keys are supposed to be. The big rubber plug. And the keys are located in there. I'll keep that in the box for now. Don't need that. Alright, so that's the block that comes down that we attach the hitch to. Bolt bag and brackets. Looks like all the bolts, the brackets, the new brackets are going to go behind the bumper. Okay, got that. You do have some instructions, operating instructions and hitch install instructions. And rear of the vehicle. Alright, well, we'll look through that. Let's see what we got on this one. So there's the actual receiver part. So obviously if you were just doing the receiver, this is probably the whole thing that you would receive, is this kit right here. So I didn't just get the hitch for putting like a bike rack or something on. I also purchased the wiring harness and towable kit. So that's what I'm assuming is in this one. Okay. There we go. And in here we have, looks like the plug and play wiring harness there with some butt connectors. We do have the 2-inch, or I should say the towing block. The actual 2-inch ball is off of it. I believe this is a 2-inch, most likely. A couple of brackets there. That must be for the chains. That's going to go on that. So we'll make sure that we install that. And then in here, there's more wiring stuff. So we'll see what we all need to do. This is a Stealth 4-way, so this is going to be I think the harness that they're going to give you with most of the vehicles. However, what I understand is with the new 2022, we don't have to run this all the way up to the battery anymore. Now there's actually a place in the trunk that we can plug into. I think that's what that's for. So that's everything that comes with the kit. I guess it's time to start opening up the vehicle. Now before we start installation, I'm going to go over the tools that I used during my installation. So I have an impact driver, not necessary but was nice, a drill and some drill bits. The impact driver, you're going to want a T25 bit. There's only 2 screws that are T25, but you're going to need it. Set of pliers, not needed for most of it, but I did use it for the final installation when I was doing the wiring. 8mm, 10mm, that's your 2 primary ones. Then you're also going to need a 15mm deep well socket. You are going to need a deep well socket. I also threw just the standard 15 in there as well because I was using both. 17mm box wrench is definitely handy to have when you're tightening up a couple of the bolts. 15/16 wrench as well as socket for tightening up the 2 bolts that are actually on the hitch itself. So you're going to need that. You are going to need a torque wrench that's going to do the 15/16 as well as the 15mm. That's the 2 that you will use the torque wrench on. And a torque wrench that's capable of doing up to at least 150 foot-pounds of torque. Most of it's 45, but the 2 big bolts are 150. You are going to want a screwdriver or a tool of some kind to pop the rivets. You're going to want some crimpers as well as wire strippers, or if you want to use snips, whatever's handy with you. Some tape, a ruler or a tape measure, and for testing purposes you're going to want to have the electrical meter. That's pretty much everything we needed. So the drill bits are not required, but they make drilling through the rubber grommet quick and easy. So that was the only thing I needed these two for. So you could probably get away with some of these, not having some of these. I also did have a single, just quick clamp as well for use of loosening up two plastic bolts as well. So that's the tools that you're going to need. Let's get into this thing. Okay, so first we're going to actually go into the trunk itself. Now what we had to do is we have to remove the two rear lights, because there is a bolt underneath this light for the bumper removal. So I do not have the factory lights. I actually have the Eagle Eye from Hand Show, but essentially the remove process is the exact same with a couple of wiring harness differentiations. One thing is for sure, you have a choice. There is a plastic piece here that there are two snap holders that you can remove this plastic piece, and then you can pull the liner away very easily and get it fully out of the way. I think I'm going to choose not to do that this time, because so you have two ways you can do it. One way, you can just kind of fold this back like when I did the light install. I didn't do anything. You can also use some clamps and kind of clamp this up so it doesn't fall down on you. I may have to get into here for the wiring, so maybe it's best to just remove this so I can get this carpet liner out of the way for me. Now I also have a little plastic spludge tool that will help to get the lights out. Possibly I may need to use that, so it's good to have one of these handy. So in this case, I guess I am going to actually take the lights out, or the... Now you can also do this with a flat screwdriver as well. So you're gonna run into a lot of these. They're just literally, you pull the top pin out, and then this little rivet will skim down, and then you can pull the whole piece out. You'll get a lot of these. So it's best to find a place to actually put these. If I was gonna say one thing, if you're gonna remove these, get a light in here. There's just not enough light. Now, of course, it's a really gloomy day out today because we are getting rain. It's really humid right now. But it's very dark in here, just a heads up. And so that just pops out once you take those two pieces out. And now the nice thing, the beautiful thing about doing it this way, I guess, is the fact that the carpet liner is now going to be nice and easy to pull back on both sides, because there's nothing holding it in up here. Now I'm going to have wiring that I did when I did the light install. You're not going to have to worry about that. But I am going to bring the camera in here so I can show you what, for the most part, it's going to look like for you. So this is driver's side, and so this little connector here is actually going into the back light. You pull this red tab out, and then, which I already did, and then you pull the connector out. Now I have a couple other connectors you can see coming out right here. It's going to be on both sides, similar, that I have to also pull out, but you won't have to do that because like I said, I have the aftermarket lights. But once you do that, then there is two nuts you'll have to remove right here and right here, those two. And it's the same on the passenger side, there's just two. You remove those, and then there's two clips that you can't see that are actually on the outside of the light that just pull straight out, but they're going to hold the light in place while you do it. So with these, I'm just going to use a socket. It's an 8mm socket is what you're going to use for these back ones. I just put a quick extension so I can actually grab onto with my fingers and turn more. Now there also is on top up here this big, basically it's like a big plastic bolt. Now what I actually found worked pretty darn good, to be honest, because I don't want to mar this up, is if it's really tight, using a clamp and actually using the clamp to kind of open it up. I actually take the rubber feet off and just use plastic on plastic, less likely to do any marring on it. That's how I did it last time. That's probably how I'm going to do it this time. So I just put it on there. And loosen it up with that. And then you can use your hand. Now you may have yours just loose enough to do by hand, yet you may not have to use that, but I just don't want to use a pliers or something. You put pliers on this plastic and it's just going to mar it, and I don't want that. So something that's smooth. You could use a smooth pliers, parallel. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to do the other side real quick, and then we're going to pull the light out. Okay, since I'm over on this side right now, let's go ahead and work on popping the light out. So you can see it's loose, right? There are two, basically, clips. And so you can either, if you can take your fingers and kind of grab onto the outside and also pull on this side as well, just pull straight back, like you're pulling it straight out of the car, and then she'll come loose. Of course, there we go, need to grab that. I just gotta get my secondary harness that I have for my light. Set this off to the side in a nice secure location. And again, just make sure that you're unplugging the harness before you pull it out. And like I said, I have two harnesses I gotta pull out. This one is on the back side, there we go. And now same thing again. This one's a little more of a bugger. I'm gonna actually open the fuel door so I can grab onto it better with this hand. This one is a little tighter, obviously. Whew. Alright, so once you get it out, make sure you get my harnesses. There we go. So I have those extra pieces there. But that's it. It's just those two clips. They can grab on pretty good, obviously. Alright, I'll set those in the trunk. They should be out of the way. Make sure everything's... Okay, so like I said, these are the bolts that are right on top underneath the light. There's one here. There's one on the passenger side. They're exactly the same. Just remove that 10mm socket on this one. I'm going to use it with a wrench. Just makes it a little bit faster. Alright, both sides are out. Next. This is going to be a little bit harder to show, but there are more of those plastic rivets like I had worked on before back here. One here, and then one way back here behind the tire, kind of. And you're just going to actually go ahead and pull those out. Let's see if I can do it somewhat here. So I'm going to use, you can use a flathead screwdriver. I'm just going to use my little tool that I had before that worked pretty decent. So you just kind of pull the head out, right? May have to use, oh, nope, that's just popped right out. So as soon as it obviously pulls itself out, it's going to just pop out. So you can do those on all three of them on the driver's side. There we go, I got that one. That one went normally. And then this one is going to be really hard for me. I don't know if I'm going to film this at all, to be honest about it, because I can't see the camera. And 3. Alright, and then put those off to the side. Now, if you see where the bumper is here, right up here, and there it is, right there. It's supposed to be T25 bit, and then you remove that. I'm going to wait on that till I get the other 3 on the other side out quick. So with this specific screw, T25 bit, I might need a bigger extension than what I already have. Maybe not, I need this. So it's just that little T25 screw, and if you have a longer extension, I'd probably use it. I have another one somewhere, but so I add another extension. Doesn't really make it that much easier. There we go. Now the nice thing about these instructions that they actually give you, that I've been kind of following with a little bit, but is they point out everything. So you can see, use 90-degree pin to dislodge 2 plastic covers here, and then use 10mm socket to remove the 7 screws. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then these 2 bolts are underneath 2 plastic covers we got to pop out real quick. And then we should have a total of 7 we're removing. And then we should, other than we have to remove the little plastic cutout, should be about ready. Okay, so that's driver's side 1, and then we have 2, 3, 4. Now mine's a 2022. I don't think I have that center one, so that one is not in mine. However, we do have these, like I said, these plastic clips. If we take a little screwdriver or a pry tool, just pop this door open. Sorry about that. This door just pops open, and then there's another bolt on that. It's the same on the passenger side. And then this cover here is actually how we're actually able to use the hitch and then stow it and put this cover back on when we're not using the hitch. This is just a quarter turn, and this just pops out. And then, all right, so let's let's get into removing those. I'm going to pop those covers over quick. So this cover here pops open, bolt, and then same with the passenger side. Pop that one open and bolt. So 6 bolts plus this cover. This is a 10mm socket again. Put some stuff on that to make that not want to come out. So that's, I guess, a good sign, to be honest. I mean, a screwdriver. And like I said before, this door should be, I think it's quarter turn, maybe it's a half turn. Yep, it's a quarter turn. So quarter turn, and then she pops down and out. So there we go. Alright, now we have a place to hold on to as we bring things down, and we should have, I think, that's all the fasteners. Get my stuff set off to the side quick. Okay, so a couple parts on this step. They recommend having a partner. It's going to be recommended to have a second person. It's going to make this a lot probably easier because we're going to take this bumper off in one big piece. I'm going to try to do it. Now I have my rear up, so it's kind of at an angle because I have the rear tires on some jacks, or not jacks, but ramps. So it might help in my case. I'm going to try to get both sides off before I do anything here. The hardest part is probably going to be unplugging the wire harness that should be located right about here. That's where the wire harness is. So on both sides here, I believe we're supposed to kind of pull out and kind of up. So I'm just kind of slowly creeping it out. There was a clip right there that was pretty easy to see. Up here, there's actually, it's vertical clips. Now you may get that where the clip, the little clip for that T25 screw comes out. I guess that's a common occurrence. That's going to pop back in. I'm just going to set it behind the rear wheel. We just got to make sure we put that back in before we do anything else. Or when we put everything back, I should say. There we go. So I'm going to kind of leave this sit on here. I have this side completely detached. I just got to repeat it on that side slowly. That first clip did not want to let go of that bumper. Now we should be, okay, now we're there. So now, you can hear the other clip. Now I'm going to get in the center here. Now you could put a box or something underneath there. Maybe I'll do that. I have a cooler. And there's the wiring harness. That's what I need to get to. I'm going to show you that. So you can kind of see it on here. That's the wiring harness we need to get to. There's a little gray tab. You pull that gray tab out, and then you can pull the harness out. So gray tab out, you can see that. I pulled the gray tab out, and then just take your time, just pull it out. Now, we should be detached. Now my cooler's in the way. Okay, so I'm going to set this over here on the cardboard I had laid out for it. Part 1 of removal is done. Now we got part 2 of removal, the bumper essentially. Okay, so now we are, next step, removing the bumper itself. 15mm, 2 bolts on each side. You are going to want a deep well socket. They are going to probably be on there pretty good, so you may or may not be able to use your impact driver. Now it's okay if these fall off in the bumper, you'll be able to get them out from the side. It's not a big deal. Let's do the other side. Okay, driver's side, we have 1, 2, and then we actually have a third one on this side. That side only had 2. I think the older ones had 3 on both sides. They could be wrong. Also, don't remove, when you remove this too much, don't worry about this bumper wanting to fall off because it's not going to. There's the stubs that are going to hold it. It's pretty tight on those. Now we should be able to pull that off. Yep, I set that over here. Next. Okay, now we have this plastic piece up here. Now I think when you look at the instructions, it tells you to do that first or that first. And there is I think our plug actually for the wiring harness, so that's awesome. It's already right there. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws on this plastic piece because we've got to be able to get to the back side of this. Now the harness that we unplugged before, you're going to want to kind of pull that out because that's pretty short and it's not going to go where we're going to put this thing. Yeah, it's straight out, slowly, and then just take this whole item, kind of stick it up in the trunk, get it out of the way. I shouldn't have to remove that. It should be fine exactly where it's sitting right now. But now we're to the plates we need to get to. This is the last step of the removal process. It's these plates. My 2022 has 3 bolts per plate, and we just 15 millimeter socket, and we're going to remove these plates. The plates themselves we're not going to reuse. We are actually going to take off, I believe, and keep off. And they say, I think, discard. I'm not going to discard them. I'm going to set them off to the side, put them in a box in case somebody wants to remove the hitch. Yeah, that's going to be that. So, as with anything, whenever you do any install, I always recommend putting all the parts that you took off, put them off to the side, because I may not want to take the hitch ever off. But then again, maybe in 5 or 10 years, maybe that hitch is rusted to the point where it's done, which is rust. It's the problem, and that's one of the things that I'm going to actually check on here. One of the next steps once we get these done, we're going to inspect the hitch before we actually install it, just to make sure that we have complete coverage. It looked good from my first standpoint, but all right, let's do the other one. Now that I've been doing this for a little bit, I am glad I put it up on the ramps. It definitely was not a necessity, but it made going under the car very easy. It puts this right at a good working height from a chair. I'm really glad I did it, because at first I was not going to do it. I was just going to, whatever. But no, I think that was a good choice. All right, set these here, and these come off. Now for this next step, we're just going to need the hitch, but we are going to need this bolt bag that came in the box. I think the same box that these guys came in. And this bolt bag is going to have our nylon washers, because we're actually going to have to stub out from the actual frame to this new one, because this is aluminum, that's steel, we don't want them touching. So I put some nylon washers in here to keep them separate. They're right there. So you're going to want to put those on all 3 on each side. Just to stub them out enough so we're not actually touching. I wonder if they have, we're supposed to put 2 on each. Let me check on that. Nope, it's just 1 nylon washer per bolt, so just put these nylon washers on there. It's just to get it enough, away enough, and maybe I should brush that off. Looks like we already have some dirt back here. And so I'm going to do that on all 6 of them actually while we're out here. We are going to use more when we actually get to the next section. If you had an older model, you'd probably have the 4th bolt on each side, but that's the nylon washers. Set those off to the side, and then let's keep going. Okay, so now we are going to put this guy on slowly. Come on. There we are. If you have to, you can move it left and right. What you're going to want to do more than anything else is make sure the hitch part is in the center of the vehicle. I'm actually going to center it on this stub here, and it actually looks pretty dang good right there. Now, the next section, you want to put the outer bolts on. In this case, we only have 2, 1 on each side. So go ahead and put 1 on each side, because we are going to have more pieces that we have to install, but they have to install here. So we are going to want to get our torque wrench out next as well. So you're going to want your torque wrench. You're going to want to set it to 45 foot-pounds, which is right there. And we're going to torque just the outer nuts for now. Okay. That's 45 foot-pounds. I'm going to double check this and just do that one fast. Okay. Happy with that. Now we get to do the inner bolts. So still going through our bolt bag, I'm going to go ahead and take out these brackets, and I'm going to dump these in here. Now again, we're dealing with steel bracket. This steel bracket is going to kind of go on the vehicle like this, These two are going to go out there. However, we're going to want to actually attach the bumper before we get to that point loosely. You just want to hand tighten it because you're going to want to be able to maneuver it a little bit. So in this case, we are using these bolts. They're going to go basically through, and the bumper is going to come through. We are also going to have some conical nuts, and we are going to have to use the nylon washers again between the steel brackets and the aluminum bumper. Maybe I'll bring it a little bit closer. Do my best to show this as best possible. So we're going to use a bolt. We're going to use a washer on that bolt. That washer is now going to come through, or that bolt, sorry, through here. Then we're going to put a nylon washer on that, and then we're going to go through here and put the new conical nuts on that. I wanted to verify the size of those nuts. They are actually 15. That makes me happy. I'm glad that they're the exact same, but they do have that conical thing, so they're not going to let go very easily. So I'm going to go ahead and put one at a time. It's not going to be easy, so I'm going to have to kind of stand it upright, I think. Now you can actually look from the end of the bumper and see if you're actually getting it on there, but I can feel it. And just kind of get down there and just finger tight. Okay, so that's good for that. Now I can worry about getting the rest of these. The problem is, the hardest part, and maybe I should loosen that up a little bit, is the fact that you got to get that nylon washer in between the two. Because putting a washer in the bolt like this, and the next one, that's easy. But getting the nylon washer in between, that's what takes, I think, the most of my time. Now again, we'll definitely need a deep wall socket for this part. I think aside from removing the bumper, this is the trickiest part. So now that we're fairly good, I'm going to tighten that one back up finger tight. Alright, so there we go. We're finger tight. We can maneuver it around a little bit. I can loosen it up a hair if nothing else, just to make sure we can move this black bracket around to make sure it lines up here. Other side. So apparently they figured out they didn't need 3 bolts on here, so that makes it easier to do with one hand here. So I'm just going to set up this bracket. There we go. There we go. Alright, so now we're finger tight. Now we can get the bumper put back on. So our next goal is to get this up here on these 4 bolts and get it finger tight for now, and then we'll worry about adjusting it once we're up. And this is why you want to make sure that they are loose enough to maneuver around. There we go. We actually got it pretty fast. And then once we're on here, this is more about centering the bumper on the actual vehicle, which essentially comes out to centering it on the outside, on the actual hitch itself. From that outer edge, we're going to be able to maneuver this back and forth a little bit, and then we can worry about getting everything back up nice and tight. So that, before we do any kind of torquing on these bolts, we want to make sure that we're as centered as we can get. Now with this wiring kind of harness in the way a little bit, it's going to be a little bit trickier, but you're going to just take your tape measure, put it against the bumper, the aluminum bumper, and then measure to the outside edge of the actual hitch bracket. Like over here I have just a little over 3/4, and if I measure the other side, I'm actually sitting at like a little over 1.25 inches. Yeah, so we have to go to the passenger side, which we may have to loosen the bolts up a little bit, but maybe not. Oh, there we go. Just wasn't moving there for a minute. So now, over on this side, we're a little over 1 inch. I think it's supposed to be about 1 inch, so I'm going to bring it back just a hair. And I'm just pushing this bumper this direction a little bit. Checking the other side. I know I'm off camera. I apologize. I'm a little over 1 inch still. And over here, I'm trying to go a little bit further back to the passenger side. I'm just going to center it best I can. So just over 1 inch on that side, just over 1 inch on that side. I am now centered. So I'm actually going to worry about, I think, torquing down the heavy bolts first, and then we'll worry about tightening these up. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Let me see here. Well, I actually had to go look for a 15mm deep wall socket for my 1/2-inch wrench, but I can't find it anywhere. So, I have an adapter. Let me get these at least finger tight for now. May have to figure out a way to hold the back side. We're going to see here shortly. So, it's no doubt that these are going to be a little trickier, I think. So I tried to get a wrench back there, it definitely isn't. But if you get your fingers back there, it takes a second for it to grab, but it does grab. So that's what we're going to have to play around with. It's just using some friction from holding them back there with my fingers. This middle one's been not wanting to go though. I'm going to grab a wrench. I think that grabs that because it's not a 15mm wrench. It's got to be more like, I don't know, I gotta find it out. Okay, so 17mm. That's what it appears those bolts are, the head of the bolts are. So I'm hoping that I can get this up in there, like that. Alright, that side's done. The other side. So yeah, I'm gonna recommend, make sure you have a 17mm wrench. I'm gonna put that in the lineup. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and tighten up the main bolts. Okay, so that's all of these bolts tightened to 45. So make sure I'm still set. Yep, I'm still good. That's 45, that's it. Now, we should be able to put this guy back on real quick. Let me... Okay, so this is going to go back exactly like it is. It's going to pop in up here. Same with on this side. It's going to line up everything exactly like you need it. Okay. On to the next. Now, if you're just doing the receiver hitch installation, we're going to have the receiver kit latch block that goes up with the bolts coming through. Now, in my case, I'm doing the toe kit as well. Same installation, it's just that we're adding the chain hooks, the chain loops, on both sides. Alright, so handles on passenger side, locks on driver's side, and it looks like from passenger side to driver's side. Okay, so I got chain locks, and I don't know why we have 2 additional nuts that came with that. I'll have to figure that out. Okay, so that's going to go on, I think like so. Okay, good thing I double checked. Looks like the holes do go towards the back. So it's going to be like that. Alright, so I got those there. Latch block here. I'm going to remove the nuts from this. I don't know why they gave me 2 extra nuts in that bag, but whatever, it is what it is. Alright, so we're going to remove these. Handle, passenger side, lock, driver's side. Okay, and I'm going to actually pull that plug out of the bottom right now and drop the keys out. Okay, so we come through first. Maybe I should do one at a time. Let's do that. Let's do one at a time. Alright, so I got this side here for the chain. Put this latch block. It's gonna be a snug fit, isn't it? Alright, so that's gonna go through. Whew. It is gonna be a snug fit, isn't it? Alright. Looks like I have to take this and actually feed it through this. Alright, so I'm going to have to change that theory up. Okay, so we have latch block. We have to get this guy through there like that. Haha. Okay, so now let's get it up there. Other side shouldn't be as bad. This is just the passenger side. Line that up. There's a bolt to go through. That's going to probably take a second because it's not like to go through. There we go. Now we get the other chain guy. Get that on this side. And I'm going to get one nut in place. Hey, we're getting somewhere now. Now we can just put the second bolt through. Slowly line things up. And we're through. And second nut. Okay. That looks like everything is correct now. I'm going to have to double check the size of these guys. Well, they're not messing around with this one. This one, these bolts are 5/8 inch bolts. Heads are going to be 15/16 wrenches. So, large wrenches, and I knew that going in. 150 foot-pounds we got to take this guy to, so we're going a lot higher than last time. So make sure you do have a good solid 1/2 inch wrench. I got mine set at 150 foot-pounds. It is going to be a fun time, especially with how well I can get my wrench in there. It is not going to be fun, because it is not going to go in there very well at all because of how this is back. So we're going to see how this first one goes. The outer one's not going to have a problem at all. It's the inside one that's going to be the problem, especially getting it to the full 150, I think. But we'll see. Maybe it'll go just fine once I get it on there. Okay, so I'm going to get this guy going now. This is a lot easier. This one's on the outside edge. $150. I don't think that's coming off. So, because my model, my 2022 does have this power plug right here that we can actually, you should be able to tap off of. I don't have to run the long wire that's in this kit here all the way up to the battery. Right? Instead they give us this adapter with some butt plugs. That should plug into there, and then we can actually use that as the power lead going to our wiring harness that's in here. So that's why they come in two separate bags, just depending on what. So either A, we're going to the power plug right here in the back, which we are going to. We don't have to run the power line all the way up to the battery now. So that's a big plus in my book. They should give you all the different, they tell you what all the colors mean and everything on here. Looks like there is a grommet. That's if we're going to pull it up to the front. But that's what we're going to do. Or maybe it's because we do have to actually go into the trunk to put the harness itself. So I like to go over everything just before I start messing with wiring stuff. So you can see we actually have the power that's going to come out of here. It's going to go to the fuse. We're going to cut off the battery terminal and use the fuse after that plug we're going to put in. And then down here is actually where we can see where we're taking the plug and everything and how it comes down to the 4-way plug going down to the vehicle. This is on the outside of the vehicle. This is going to be in the passenger compartment. So outside and then passenger compartment. In the trunk, specifically passenger side rear section here. I believe we do have to pull a wire from the passenger side over to the driver's side as well, but that's all in the trunk area. That's pretty easy. So we just got to get from here into the passenger rear compartment, and there should be a grommet that we can go through. So I do want to get the wiring out. So this is the plug itself. Set that out, and then we do need our power cable, which is this guy here. Keep the butt connectors in there. Of course I need snips, and I'll grab those, and that's going to go from here, and this is also going to go where these wires go. So these wires are going to go together, and we should go into a grommet over here. There's a rubber grommet right here we can actually drill through easily. Okay, I've been looking at this real quick. So first I'm looking at the 4-way plug. This is obviously going to be our terminating plug, or our end plug where we're plugging the trailer into. They do give in the bag a little clip. It's a magnetic clip. So it's not going to stick to the aluminum bumper, but it will stick to the hitch itself down here. So I'm going to actually take this and actually put it on this wire. I'm hoping that it goes. Yep, okay, cool. So that's what I'm going to use as kind of the magnet to hold it up out of the way when we're not using it. However, getting it routed there, if you actually look at the schematic, they show you, oh yeah, just zip tie it along the hitch itself, and then bring 18 inches of loop there for the pigtail there for when you want to drop it down and plug it into the trailer. Hey, that sounds all great and awesome, except for the fact that I can't get to that. Right? It's behind the bumper now. But that said, it's going to be hard to put this down. If we go from the back side, where we just have some loose wires right now, we should be able to feed this up. I'm going to stick this right there for now. It doesn't really matter. So this is coming over here, and this is going to go into the grommet on the side. And we have just enough wires to get in there. So that's that side, that section. This guy here, there is a plastic plug, which I probably am going to need a screwdriver, I think. There we go. That'll actually open that up. We can actually probably pull that out. There we go. So that's just a dust cover that was in there. And now it actually brings it over here like this. Although I think I'm going to probably just, I don't know. We'll see here. Stick that up there. Now, grab that guy. I don't think I'm going to plug this in just yet because I don't want power coming in on this cable just yet. But you can see how I'm going to do this, right? And I'm going to leave that kind of just sitting in the trunk. Let's come over to this grommet. Okay, so you can see this is the right side of the bumper. And we come over here to this little plug. That is a plastic or rubber grommet that we can easily drill through to get our cables through. So I'm going to grab a drill bit and we're going to put a hole in it. Before I do that, you can see that little black dot, that's the grommet. We just want to make sure that whatever we're drilling, we're not going to drill into something that can't receive that. So we should be good. Okay, so there's this guy here. I'm going to put a hole. And of course it pops right out. So I'm going to keep that in place. And I may need to go a bigger hole. I just did a 1/4 inch to start. But now these wires are going to go through here. I'm hoping that with the rubber elastic, I want to keep its ability to seal, essentially. I don't want it to, I want it to seal as best possible. Okay, I drilled it out just a little more, I reamed it out, I guess, and now I'm through the rubber, at least now. So then I also have the power cable to pop through there, but that should be fairly simple, I would think. Alright, so now we're through the grommet, and we are nice and tight, which gives us a really good seal. That's what I wanted. And that should be that part at least. We'll be able to pop that in. Now I'll be able to pop that in or out if we need to work on those cables at all, and obviously pull any slack in. So let's figure out what we need to do. Now one thing is for sure is this is the fuse that's going to go in line with that power wire, but we're not going to the battery terminal anymore, so we don't need that anymore. So I'm going to cut that off, and then we're going to redo this guy, maybe a little more. Alright, so now we're ready to wire that up to this power line in the back there. So this should have a fuse in it. Let's see what we've got. We got a 20 amp fuse on that guy. Okay, so I got it all raw here. It does come with a blue one that hopefully will go on there nice and tight on this wire. Should definitely go on the black wire, no problem. Okay, so there's that. Crimp that down. And we have the black wire that's going out to the power adapter here. That's going to go on the other side. A little raw. Okay. And then we're going to heat shrink it as well. Okay, so for this step, we're going to have to play around with the colors a little bit. So this is the harness, these are the butt connectors that are already on here, ready to connect to the wire that we have pulled in from the actual plug. And then this is going to be vehicle side. So this short wire set, they're all black, which I'm not too fond of them all being black, but then again they do have a strip of color, it looks like, on them. But either way, we'll have in order the ground on the top, the tail mark light, the left turn light, and the right turn light. So I believe it is, ground is going to be the white, then we have the red, yellow, green. Red, yellow, green. So that's what we're going to connect to the appropriate ones down here. Okay, so I just pulled that back out of the grommet. I left, that's the power wire still connected, you can see through there. But before I put that back in, I want to get these terminated, which these are split wires, so we do have to, I wonder if I grabbed that, I didn't. Right. So just kind of split those up. By the way, if you've never used the Nipix wire strippers, these are, I think, the best tool made. ever. Alright, so we got these pretty much ready to go. And now we can grab the wires here. I'm going to actually feed these from the inside out, do the connection to the outside, and then push everything back in. That's going to be the easiest, I think. Because this is going to stay inside, and I don't want to play around with trying to get those all in there. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can see back here, white, that's yellow, that's brown. It's got to be green, huh? Yep, there's the green. So there's just a line on the wire. It's a fine line. So let's grab my tool here, and we're going to start with white. And I'm just twisting the wires up so they're nice and tight and bundly, because you want to go get it as far in as you can go. Perfect. And I got these done. I can go grab my heat shrink gun and we can actually shrink these tubes to seal them up good. Even though they are going to be in the vehicle, it's probably best to get those shrunken up so they're not going to, so we have less likelihood of these ever pulling out. I'm going to go grab that and do that. So I've got my heat shrink gun. Okay, so in this case, if you wanted to keep these outside the vehicle, you could. I'm going to actually keep them inside, but because now they are fully sealed and good to go. So we are ready to go ahead and feed them back into the passenger compartment. Alright, so I feel good with it right there. I'm going to go ahead and push a little bit more of that in there. Yeah, that feels good now. Should be good on the outside. I apologize for the sound again. Okay, so from the module here, we do have these two heavy wires. Now this is going to be power wire, which is going to go to our fuse that we have here. And then we have the white wire, which is going to be our ground wire. That one's going to actually go to a ground connection back here in the passenger side rear compartment. Now they have plenty of wire on here. I'm going to snip this open. I don't think I need that much wire on there for either connection. So I'm going to make it, whatever, 18 inches long, give or take. I don't know. I'm going to cut this because I don't want that much extra wire in there. I'm glad they give us extra. I'd rather have too much than not enough. But where it's going to go for me, I'm not going to have an issue. So, alright, now, let's get the power wire done. I'll make sure I'm not going to get this all wound up over things. Alright, there we go. Black wire is going to be power wire. It's going to go to the other side of this fuse. The one that actually came connected already. There we go. And now this side is not heat shrinkable, which is, it's fine. It's going to be inside the vehicle. It's not a big deal. Although I do like that heat shrink because it just holds the wires a little extra. So there we go. Now we have the black wire coming to our fuse. Our fuse is good. We can actually plug it in now if we want to. I'm not going to wait on that till the last second. I want to get all this done before I put any bumper back on. So now we have the white wire. This is going to be our ground connection. Make sure we're not tangled around anything. In the bag with the components, this is the same spot I actually pulled that blue one here, is a connector for the ground. There we are. So that's going to go on the ground side. White wire coming up. All right, we're going to stick that in there, and get this pinched and connected. Okay, so that is going to go to the ground point right back in here. So hopefully that wasn't too off, but yeah. That's that. Now let's get that done real quick while we're at it. Passenger side carpet, we're going to peel that back a little bit, and right back in there, you'll actually see there's a couple of wires that are already grounded right there. So that bolt, I'm going to loosen that bolt up, and that's what we're going to connect to, is that guy. Should be a 10 millimeter, I think. Sometimes manual pieces just come more handy than the power stuff. Okay, so let's try this again. More than tight enough. Okay. Okay, so we are grounded. Now we're going to work about working with the looms. And what I mean by that is back, let me zoom out a little bit. Back here on the passenger side, and actually driver side too, we have to pull the connectors, if you can see right here, for they actually plug into the lights themselves. That's the cables we're talking about when we're talking about the plastic looms on that. We're going to actually open up the loom to get at the wires. So on this side, let's go to 36. These looms here, you can see, is where we're going to actually pull into the wires themselves. So back in there, so that loom is actually back in here. We just want to be able to get to the actual wires themselves and be able to get to the colors. So on this guy right here, I'm going to snap this open. Boom. We have, this is coming out of the actual module that came with our hitch. We have 4 different colors. We have yellow, green, blue, brown, and red. On what would be the passenger side, be the right turn side, we're going to deal with the green wire and the brown wire. So the green wire on mine is actually going to go to the brown wire of the vehicle, and the brown wire is going to go to the yellow wire for the vehicle. So in here, for that turn, we have black, yellow, brown, and gray. So we're going to deal with the brown and the yellow. The black and the gray we're not going to worry about. That's the colors we're going to go to. We're going to tap into those in this little bag right here. We do have these little guys right here that literally you put the wires through, both of them, and then you snap them closed, and voila, we actually have a connection. So there are 4 of those in this bag, 2 for each side. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one side at a time. I'm going to get the passenger side done. Then we're going to loop the wires through over to the driver's side and worry about those wires over there. So let me pull the loom out a little bit. I'm going to do my very best to show you what I'm doing here. So this is the plug that we're worried about. This is the one that goes to the light. It has a plastic loom. So I actually followed that down here, right down to here, and it's going to be hard for you to see. Let me pull it in my hand here. So you can see I just opened the loom. It is already open, right? Yeah, I just pulled the wires out. So you can see the 4 wires that are in there. Black, gray, yellow, brown. Like I said, we're dealing with the yellow and the brown. That's the 2 we need to get to. That's the 2 we're tapping into. And then we're going to tap into the right colors for the wires that go into that. So it's going to be really hard for me to show you me doing this because I'm going to be down in there. But I will do my best. I will film it, and then I'll show you what the after looks like. So the first thing I did is I'm going to shorten this to a couple feet long. I don't need that much brown and green wire because brown and green is going to be for this side. So the first one I'm going to go to, I'm going to do the green wire first. Green wire is going to the vehicle brown wire. So I will need a pliers for this. I believe I have a pliers right down here. There we are. I have so many tools out right now. So essentially, if you've never used these before, the wire kind of sits in there. Right, and then the other, you're going to bring the other wire, you're going to just kind of bring the other full wire and just kind of loop it through, and then you close the door on it. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and get this guy set in there, the green one, and then I'm going to snap this around the brown wire down in here. And then once you have it in the actual connector, then we use our pliers. Alright, I'm going to show you what that one looks like before we go to the next one. So you can see I have the brown wire, I put that on the end, and then I have this one coming in. I let it go through both connectors. It's right at the very end. You can kind of see the tip of the wire. Now I'm going to tape that up in the end, but for now I'm going to just get the yellow wire done in the exact same fashion. So once you get down there, you put it down there, and then you smash it down with pliers. Okay, so I just got through doing the second one. I guess I forgot to hit record on it. Not a big deal, because you couldn't see it anyway, me doing it. So now you can see I have green wire. Ooh, sorry about that. Green wire going to brown, brown wire going to yellow. So that should be passenger side done. Now I got to get the red and yellow wire from the module around to the other side. So there are two ways to get these wires from here over to there. One is above and go across and then back down, and that would work just fine. There's no problem with that. I don't have any wires running up here at all yet, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go down here and run across here. Now, in order to do that, I have to remove this piece right here. Not a big deal. I've done it once already, and you have to actually kind of get down in here to lift up. And this rubber seal that's actually along here is actually one of the major things holding it in place. So you have to get your hands in this rubber seal, and you can actually start over on the far side and work your way across. And you'll see how easy it is to pull this out. Once you get the rubber seal off, it literally just lifts out. There we go. So now I have that out, and I can actually run my wire behind this ribbed stuff. And you'll see here in a second, because I actually have one wire down there already. So I'm going to go ahead and run this the exact same way as I did that. And from one side to the other, and I'll show you how I ran it. Okay, so now we're back here at this one. This loom goes a little different, doesn't it? So we have this one's not really in a loom. This one's actually kind of more free-flowing. So I'm going to maybe pull this tape back a little bit and get into it right back here. I don't want to be right at the light connector itself. Okay, so in this one we're going to go into the yellow and red wire. Yellow goes to red. The red break is not even used. So I have it over here. I'm just going to tape this over here. I guess I didn't even look at that. I should have looked at that. So yellow harness is going to the red wire on my vehicle in the 2022. So let me grab another one of those guys out. I may not have to go even touch that really. So we're going to the red wire in here, and I want to go back here a little bit. On that guy. So that one you saw a little bit more. Now we're connected there. And then this red wire, I'm going to just tape up there with everything. I just got to get my tape out. And then we're pretty much done with this other than mounting the controller. So, like I said, I'm going to bring this wire, this red wire up. And I'm just going to tape this stuff up all together. Okay, driver's side is all wrapped up. Now I'm going to get the passenger side wrapped up. I'm probably going to do that one off camera because that one's kind of down in the hole. I'll be right back. Okay, so the last thing we have to connect really is our power wire here, which plugs in like that. And then we'll clean it up and zip tie everything up, but now it's time to test. Okay, so how I'm going to test. I have a multimeter here, and I have the 4-prong plug. I just brought it up here just so it would be easy access. So you have your ground, you have your brown, yellow, green. Brown is marker, yellow is left turn, green is right turn. So let's try the right turn, left turn right now. So I'm just going to connect, I'm going to set my multimeter for ohm, for sounding it out. So just a little tone. And I'm going to put this guy in here. And I'm going to put this guy in yellow. Yellow is left turn. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the left turn signal on. Okay, so I am getting on this guy. You can see I am getting something on the left turn. Let me double check the right turn. Nothing. Marker. Nothing. So left turn is the only one that's going off. And you can hear it. Sorry about the cutting grass. Everybody's cutting grass today, it appears. Okay, so as soon as I turn it off, and I'm not getting anything. Now I do not have I was wondering if I had to have the actual lights connected, but it doesn't appear like it's needing to be. I could be wrong, and maybe, but this one's definitely not going anywhere. So let's go into the right turn signal. That's green. Turning right turn signal on now, and we are getting tone on that. double check the other ones. Left is off, marker's off, right is on. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back off. And still nothing. So, and this is the ground out here. So I'm just going ground to whatever I'm going. So that green wire's coming through, that's this guy. So now it's just about the markers. But if we're getting, maybe we're not getting anything, I just thought I heard something. Now I'm just gonna, I guess, turn the lights on. So lights are now on, and we are getting marker. So you can hear it. And I'm gonna double check, I'm gonna turn the light off. Nothing. So we are good. We are fully hooked up, fully operational, and I actually was able to test that without actually putting the rear taillights back in. I will say that if you test it and it's not working, go ahead and put the rear taillights in and then test. Because that's what the instructions tell you to do, but I'm not having any issues with this. So this is working good. I'm going to just magnetically attach that back up back here again. There we go. And now we can start getting stuff put away. So I definitely want to get some stuff tied up in here, and one is going to be getting this double-sided tape off, putting it onto the back side of this guy. Okay, so this, I want to actually put this back in here, just right back in here, essentially. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this right now and work on getting this stuck back in here. Just want to make sure I don't have any wires in the way. Okay, it appears as though that worked. And most of the wires, other than these guys here, I've snipped shorter, so I'm not worried about it being too long anymore. I may want to dress that up a little bit later, but as of right now, it's kind of hidden out of the way back in the corner. So that's it for now. I do have an extra wire piece because I didn't have to do that red wire, so we are good inside here. Let's check the wires down here to make sure if we have to zip tie anything up. So they definitely give us a lot of zip ties for use. Big ones and smaller ones, so depending on what you're doing. I'm going to actually take this wire and I'm going to actually tape it, or zip tie it, to the plastic piece here through this hole. No, it should be, oh, that should be for that actually. I can't do that. This is going to have to go in here like that. That's, with that I can zip tie together. Okay. I have the grommet here. It is through the grommet, nice and sealed, and I'm not going to have to worry about that at all, which makes me happy. So I think we're ready to start messing around with the bumper again. Pretty sure. I'm going to double check before we start. I think I might actually start by doing something real quick. I'm going to get this trunk lid back here because it's kind of easy to manipulate this rubber right now rather than doing it later. So I'm going to go ahead and reinsert it. That just takes a few minutes to get that in there. There are a couple snaps too as well, but that rubber seal is really what holds that. Alright, so I feel like that's back in where it's supposed to go. Bumper time. So from what I can tell is that underside piece actually goes up and into that other one, but we just kind of do it one piece at a time. So I'm going to get it up here and set it up essentially how I had it before. And I will say this, you can tell how much dust and dirt gets under here. You can kind of see that. If I was smart, I guess I'd clean that, but it's just going to get dirty again anyway. Okay. Okay, don't do what I did. I had this all closed up. I forgot to plug that guy in. So I can't do it with the camera, but I'm going to plug, it was over here, I was able to pull it up, it's right there. I just got to plug it in quick. That was stupid. There she goes. It's just about manipulating it as you go. Oh, Now I'm into that point where I got to get that screw holder back in there. Same with the other side. So this clip slips on the bumper thread on the top. Make sure that's on there before we do this next piece. And you can see all these clips as we go. I'm going to show you that real quick before I finish this one. So you can see all these clips, where you're clipping it to. So you can see down here, it goes on top, actually, of those clips. So the clips go on the bottom. And then just make sure you put that thread piece back on there before you close it up. But we have to lift, if I can do this with one hand, you have to lift it up like this and kind of get it through there. And that's the hard part, is because that thread, you can kind of see it barely fits in there. So that's where you have to manipulate around. So yeah, you can definitely put this in after, as long as you know where it goes. So that's not hard to get it in there at least. But now we are where we need to be. So that's a good step. Alright, now I get to have fun under the car, because this lip has to go underneath the lip that's in here. And maybe it would have been easier if I would have done this first. I'm hoping I can do it without too much trouble. Oh, that was probably a bad idea, wasn't it? Oh wait, no, I can do it. Alright. So you kind of have to pull and flex the bumper that way. Alright. I'm going to start with those screws way back there. Okay, now that I fixed this stupid mistake, get these tightened up and clipped in, and this one should be tight. It's good. We have this, we'll deal with this here shortly. Let's finish up there, get the lights back in. So these two screws here that go right here, 10 millimeter as well. So now we should be good with going with the lights themselves. Now, like I said before, in mine, I do have 2 extra wires I have to plug in, so I'm going to plug those in first. But in your case, if you have the factory ones, you're just going to put this in and then do the main harness from behind. I'm going to leave the car. I'm not going to worry about the carpet liner until I'm fully done and good to go. And then we're repeating on the passenger side. Again, I have the extra wiring harness that you probably won't have unless you have these lights. Now we have the wheel wells. So we're going to do reverse order on the wheel wells. We're going to do the 2 screws first, or I should say one side at a time. Screw first, and then the 3 lock rivets at the bottom. There we go, that's correct now. That was easy, a lot easier than coming out. Alright, other side quick. Figured I'd try a different angle, looking from the front back. There's where that's going to go. Looks like this side may have just lined up automatically. Maybe I just did this side better. Yeah, she's in. And again, this liner, we want to make sure that is inside the actual bumper itself. And the back rivets, you just have to lift up on the lower section itself to get the holes to line up. And that's it. So that was quick. That's quick and painless. I did put this one, I think, back in off camera real quick. You snug those up with your hand as best you can. And the last piece, go ahead and get this liner kind of lined up. No, I did test my brake lights real quick off camera just to make sure that everything was plugged back in correctly. Everything is plugged back in correctly. But I also have a few more connections than most people do with those aftermarket tail lights. So just get this carpet liner back where it's supposed to be, lined into the trunk. Right, and then we have this overhead guy, which kind of keeps up there, and then we just have the 2 rivets, which I have right down here. And then just make sure you get that rubber seals up and all the way across. And that is inside done. Okay, so right now if I reach up in here, I can bring down, it's on a magnet, and bring down my wire. Now I did come with a cover. I'm going to put this on now. Could have put it on earlier, but I decided to wait until after I get all the bumper back on. Alright. Covers are always fun. Let's get it on there. There we go. And now I have a nice cover. And I have a nice magnet that I can just go up and put it up there. And just magnetically hold it on the actual thing. So this is the hitch, which goes up. And right now, I don't know if we're locked or not. Then I'm going to assume that they want you to lock it every time you use it. Yep, it was locked. So I had the key in it, and I can't take out the key. Oh no, I can't take out the key. And well, it's unlocked. Okay, so then on the passenger side, you rotate that clockwise, and it stays open. So I wonder if it will lock. Look at that. And then you can actually push, you just push the lock cylinder in and it locks. That's cool. And then to release it, hold on to it, open it all the way, it kinks and locks open, and then I can put on the trailer, the actual ball. Now the receiver hitch itself is not designed for towing. This is just for bike racks and accessories that you're going to put on the vehicle. If you're towing, that's what came in the towing kit. So towing has a nice long arm where you mount the ball, and I'm going to actually put this on now. I'm going to put the ball on. So in here, it did come with a 2-inch ball. Boy, that's got some not easy to remove threads. All right, and then of course that goes on there. And these are a lot easier to. Sorry about that. They're a lot easier to install when they're on a vehicle, because then you don't have to worry about holding the hitch itself. At least I think they are. They're a lot easier when they're actually something stable to actually do this too. I can't remember what torque you're supposed to put these to, but I don't know what I have for a torque wrench that would actually do it either. Wonder if I do have one. Well, I looked and I can't find my my tools to tighten that up right now. So I got it ready. But I am ready to throw a bike rack on it. And then you push the lock cylinder in, like that. And then you cover the lock cylinder with the dust cap that comes in there. And I'm going to throw a bike rack on it to see what it looks like. So, in total, that took me probably around 5 hours. But I am filming. I took a couple small breaks to talk to some people and whatever, but it takes time to do this install. you're probably going to want at least 2.5 to 3 hours to really do it. If you're just doing the main install of the hitch, to be honest, it's not that bad. I could probably have had that done in an hour and a half or 2 hours tops. But of course I'm filming, so it's hard to tell you how much time this actually took. How hard was it? Not incredibly hard. I know if you go on there, like you go to eTrailer, it's got a 10 out of 10 out of installation. I wouldn't call it a 10 out of 10. If you are familiar with how snaps work and things on the vehicle, in all reality, it's not that difficult. And I did this one person. Even though it says, hey, use 2 people to take the bumper off, I did it just myself, and it was not that difficult. It just takes patience is the big thing. The hardest part, and actually the most tedious part, was the wiring of it. And that wasn't difficult. It just took time to route the wires and stuff and get the wires properly where they went. All in all, not that crazy of an install. And now I'm able to put my bike rack on my Tesla rather than my van. So another thing I don't have to use gas for is going to the local trails. Now I will be using this pulling a trailer off and on as well, and I don't want to do a full review of that until I have some time using it for both purposes of bike rack stuff as well as pulling an actual trailer. And I plan on doing a video of me pulling that trailer with this as well. So I'm going to kind of skip it in there. I'm going to put links to every video I do. So this install video is going to be the only one out there, and everything else will be coming soon. But I will put links to where you can purchase this Stealth Hitch. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I was warned, hey, just double check everything to make sure you don't see anything. Now there is a rubber cap. Once I pull this hitch out, there is a rubber cap that goes in there. And then that door that we pulled out as well, that covers up the area where the hitch goes when you're not using it. So once you pull it out, put the cap in, keeps all the gunk out, keeps it from rusting as fast, and we'll be good to go. So that is the install of the Stealth Hitch on the 2022 Tesla Model 3. Without having to run everything up to the battery, 2 thumbs up in that regard. Great job, Stealth Hitch. You made it easier, and great job, Tesla, for making it easier. So thanks for watching here to the end. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you can. Head over to techgooch.com. You can get a hold of me there if you have any direct questions on this. Otherwise, thanks for watching to the end. Catch you on the next future video install right here on GeekSmart. We'll see you soon.